This is going to be a demonstration of getting started with ZIGI. This assumes that you've already installed Git on ZOS and you've installed the ZIGI ISPF tool. From the ISPF primary option menu, enter TSO ZIGI on the command line. That will bring up the ZIGI splash screen. I've highlighted in the bottom right that you can turn off the splash if you don't want to see it by overtyping the N with an Y. When you do that, and hit enter, you'll get this little pop-up indicating that if you want to get the splash screen back, you start ZIGI with an option of S. First time through, the assumption is that you don't have your SSH keys created and your Git configuration. This will set up your Git configuration. Ask for your username, email. The second option there under PDS member generations is ZIGI, when it clones a repository that has ZOS partition datasets in it, will create PDSEs version 2 libraries. You can define those with a number of member generations. The default is 0. The system limit is displayed on your screen. The system limit's based upon whatever you have on your LPAR. Below that are some options. The top one is when you select a member or a data set, you can have it actually select it, or you can have it do a pop-up with a selection list of options and different other options that are there. I've filled those in for the way I like to process things. Then it checks to see is your SSH key created. If not, it creates it. And when it creates it, it will bring a display up showing the SSH key. What's highlighted in green here, or in the green box, you do a copy and paste. This is your public key, so you can feel free to share that with whoever. Nothing's going to happen. They can't use it for anything. But if you put that in your clipboard, you can then take it over to your Git server and paste it in under your profile settings and SSH keys. Next, ZIGI will prompt says, I don't know if you don't have any repositories as yet that I know about. So do you want to clone one or create one? We will clone one. And in order to clone, we need a Git URL, as the terminology is. I'm going to use the OMVS man repository. It's a tool that's an ISPF command that will display OMVS man pages in an ISPF dialog in a very handy, easy to use format. Go to the repository. This is Git, GitLab, and Bitbucket, and others may be a little different, but they all be effectively the same. Click on code, that's number 1. Number 2, make sure you're selected SSH. And number 3, use that little windowed overlapping windows icon, and that will copy the URL that you see there to your clipboard. Then go back to Git ZIGI, and you'll see the clone repository panel. We'll fill that in with the Git URL, the prefix for your ZOS datasets. You can fill that in. You can have multiple levels if you want of qualifiers. That could be lbtype1.test if you wanted to. For repositories you're not contributing to or don't have authorization to update, suggest you turn push off. Say default push is no when you do a commit. That's just a step when you do a commit. So you don't have to actually type in push after a commit. And we'll see that in another video. Then you need to define where that Git is going to actually place the repository in your own VS file system. You need a directory. In this case, I've defined it as /u/lbdyke1/git. That directory does need to exist. Then when you hit enter, you'll get a series of pop-ups as it's doing its thing, and you'll be presented with the current repository display. The local directory, as you can see there, is in the directory that we created, but it's now under omvsman because that is the name of the repository. Omvsman right there. And then we've got the current branch. We have the data sets here. There's on the data sets are enclosed in quotes with a high level qualifier, as you can see there. The others are OMVS files. They reside in the OMVS file system. And then when you hit PF3, you'll go back to the primary local repositories list. On the left, you'll see the repository has OMVSman, the prefix, category, which we could have filled in when we did the clone, and the last access date. In the top right, we have the get version number, and then in the middle here, we have an indicator that says Cozy is active. If it's not active, it won't show up. Cozy is the Cozy Toolkit, COZ Toolkit from Dovetail Technologies. It's free. They offer a paid support, which I'd highly recommend, but it is optional. It provides some utilities that ZIGI takes advantage of to quickly and easily copy files between OMVS and ZOS and back again. Much more efficient than using the provided CP command. And that's it for the first demo video.